30th of September 25, and it's Tuesday. Keir Starmer's just made his speech at the Labour conference. I think that'll be his last one. It's his second as Prime Minister, but I think it'll be his last. And he was really bombastic in that and sort of loud, you know. But to me, it was depressing because he was really inflammatory, I thought, and really he was using fighting talk. And to me, it was inflammatory, though. It's just bizarre for a politician to use such language. I think it's bizarre, never mind the Prime Minister. And this is sort of the wrong tact he's taking continuously. Like after what happened in Southport last year, then there was, I think it was issues around about places where newcomers were staying in hotels or whatever after that, and it was in Labour voting areas, most of them, I think. And they called the people bust in far R, whereas the next day we had the Magni. Oh, forget it. I'm talking, deflecting. Um, yeah. So he got that totally wrong, and then made a great speech in May on this issue, the best one probably since 1968. And then he said a month later he regretted saying it. So he's all over the place, and that speech would have inflamed his left, his own party, plus the far left as well. That would have angered them. He said we were an island of strangers, and here he is a few months later saying that it's reform that's been divisive or whatever. We want to be about unity rather than divisive. I mean, it's just 3 months ago said we were an island of strangers or becoming one. He's just a bizarre character. And he also gave a story in his speech where he said he met some sort of older lady or something when he was a younger politician. No, maybe it was an election or something. And she took him in her house and she showed pictures of her friend who was Asian or whatever. But then she said that there was some uh, Eastern European guys who'd come in the street and they were spitting and loitering and stuff. I don't know why they were there. Was it maybe one of these houses that's got multiple occupants while they wait for or something or other? I don't know. Wait for a decision. I don't know. But and he said, and that made me realise that she wanted to tell about that complaint, but she was too afraid. Yeah, she's too afraid of people like you, who are the worst of the lot on this issue. So he said, and he was always minded of that. Um, well, not minded enough because now he's calling us all. I don't know what he's calling us. I mean, as Robert Lowe says, it doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, they've lost the argument really. It felt as if this was a sort of last stand. To me, it was a shock that the language he was using, especially after, because when you think of the MPs that have been killed, and then Nigel Farage has stuff thrown at him, and I think the last one to get stuff thrown at him, I mean, someone put Coca-Cola over his head as well. I don't think either of them went to prison or anything. They both got, I don't know, just a discharge or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, really, we don't want this sort of language, and yet it seems to be the left that's always using it. He's described. Let's see. So here's the sort of thing he was saying. I mean, to me, it was shocking. I mean, it was warmed up and that. And another thing is all the cabinet and most of the crowd were waving little flags of Britain and England, etc. So that just shows you that we've come on quite a bit because we're all meant to love the flag. It identifies Britain, England, Scotland. So we're all meant to love it. So this lamppost thing has been a sort of stress test. Like, how British are you? I mean, I can tell you one place where you'll always see the British flag, and that's in the TikTok adverts to get a place in a dinghy to come over. They've always got the British flag, and so have all the men coming over, the young men, and their TikTok videos. Either well, that one that came from Pakistan, who was in the hotel in Epping. he did have some videos, I think, of him with a big submachine gun in Pakistan or something, but he did made videos of him coming over as well, I think, and in that you always had the British flag, and usually have the flag, maybe a flag that I love as well. I don't know, but the British flag's always there. So if Labour are flying British flags at their conference, then we've come quite a way, really. I would imagine, and Lib Dem's done that last week as well. So it seems that it's been a wake-up call to them about being British or whatever. We're all meant to love the flag. I mean, everyone loves the passport, but um, yeah. So let's see. He warned anyone who argues that people who have lived in is an enemy of national renewal. He's calling this thing national renewal. It will never take off, and his own side won't rid of him anyway. I mean, probably Andy Burnham's going to be the next leader. But I don't know how he's going to get a place in Parliament. Oh, but you are the enemy, and we will fight you. I mean, what does that even mean? Does he mean by law or physically? I mean, it's meant to sort of imply anything, but I would never use language like that against people you're trying to persuade them to be to think your way. Because I think this is really that Reform Party means we can vote on one issue as a referendum on the issue that's been going on since 1948, really, where because we evolved for millions of years and there wasn't really that much change, and there's been a revolution in one particular aspect since then, and we've never had a chance to vote on it alone. And Labour and Tories have always wanted it to really continue. Um, Nobody actually wanted it to happen. It just sort of happened because a lot of people around the world don't like living in their countries, even if they're beautiful and warm, you know. And those countries don't seem to be going through this change. Um, yeah. He also stated that if people say or imply that others, etc., he framed the current political landscape as a fight for the soul of our country between Labour's vision of national renewal, this phrase will never take off, and what he called the division and decline offered by Farage and Reform UK. Well, I think if it is, that's the way to view it. I think he's lost. So that's it really. Um, and there's a few council by-elections coming up on Thursday. There's one in Wigan Central where it's meant to be a Labour stronghold of a Labour area that's been Labour since Labour were around, really. I don't know, since World War Two or whatever. But people think that's going to go to reform, so that would be a uh, good way to react to his speech. And I just asked what he said about reform and speech policy. I mean, he did go on about a lot of things. I mean, I wasn't really interested in most of them. I think this is the only issue. I see that in the YouGov thing today, it says that they ask all the time in their polls. Everyone should do YouGov polls, but they ask what are your three main issues you're bothered about politically. And immigration result usually we say third or fourth or whatever, but now it's first. It's around about 57% or something. I don't know if they had to pick what they think, what is their main, what is the only thing they're concerned about, or 57% or something like that, whereas economy was next 55% or something. Then it was health at 30% or something like that. So if you do the YouGov polls, remember when you get asked that question, I would say just pick that one issue and don't select any others so that they can't dilute it, the talking point. Yeah. So yeah, everyone should do YouGov polls because we only get to vote once every 5 years for a party hamper, and usually, it's a ridiculous way for a democracy to be. We should be like Switzerland where they get to vote in referendums all the time, but we should be able to vote on issues rather than party hampers. A lot of times they don't even do what they say anyway, or they change their mind or whatever. He described it as a fight for the soul of our country between him and reform, and a choice between decency or division, renewal or decline. So vote reform, folks, especially if you vote Green, SNP, Labour, etc. Plaid Cymru. I think Wales has gone reform anyway. I mean, reform's really just a referendum vote on this. Don't think of it as any other way. Do if you want, but that's the way I am. I'm just using the electoral system like that. It's as Ben Habib says. I think this next election is the last chance we've really got to sort of be the Britain I think that Brits love. Really, after that, it's probably gone forever. That's what he feels anyway. Um, and I would advise you to vote Advance as well, because they're the best of the lot on this issue. And Ben Habib's, I'd say, he's the best leader of the lot as well. I mean, Nigel Farage is alright as well, I think. Not totally, but, well, he's a good sort of. I think his problem was just even a year or two ago, a lot of this stuff you couldn't talk about. Um, I mean, it was 2 years ago where Coots said they were going to close his bank account because they didn't say why, but later on I think we found out it was because of political views. That's how Coots was. They were so woke. You know. Anyway, and he repeatedly questioned Nigel Farage's genuine commitment to the country, stating that Farage doesn't like Britain, doesn't believe in Britain. I mean, that's just silly, and wants people to doubt Britain's greatness as much as he does, him, Starmer. That's just ridiculous. That doesn't even. I mean, whoever's writing this speech for him, maybe in a month's time he's going to say he regrets this, which he should. Starmer launched a strong moral and ethical attack on Reform UK's proposals regarding that subject, particularly their plan to revoke the rights of people who have lived and worked legally in the UK for years. I don't know what he's talking about really. I mean, is he talking about people who have got indefinite leave to remain? Because that means they've only maybe been in the country 5 years, or it's after 5 years you can apply for that. It's really a rubber stamp to getting citizenship. Uh, but maybe some people don't apply for it after, for whatever reason, I don't know. But then he's just announced a policy. Well, his Home Secretary on Monday saying that they're going to make the indefinite leave to remain thing 10 years now. So from 5 to 10, I think that's even more than the Tories. I'm not sure. But it just goes to show how the pendulum shifted, because a year ago this was untouchable, this subject. Now we've got them competing to who can do most indefinite leave to remain, which is a sort of conveyor belt to passport. Um, and you get benefits in that once you've applied for that as well. But it says it's not going to apply to the Boris waves, so it's not going to make any difference to the whole lot from January 26, because they came over in 21, even though Shamana Mabud, the Home Secretary, said that the social and healthcare visa that Boris brought in was totally abused. It looks like most of them, if they apply for indefinite leave to remain, they'll get it. Anyone who argues for the deportation of long settled legal residents, an enemy of national renewal. So he's been really coy here. He's not seen an enemy of Britain, but he's using the word enemy. I mean, how are they an enemy if people are anxious about it, or they're not sure it's going to work out? I mean, we're not talking about anybody going to jail or anything, anything bad happening to anybody. But it's just ridiculous. The politics of grievance. Uh, Snake oil merchant is calling Farage. I mean, it's a disgrace, really. And Farage, he done a really good thing, really sensible thing, and Reform done this. Um, Afterwards, he made his own reaction speech to it, which was only about 10 minutes, and it was very sensible. In front of two big British flags, you could see the Houses of Parliament. And I think it was a green screen, I'm not sure, but yeah, they made a good speech about it. So it's good to see the Union Jack out all the time now, because uh, Boris started bringing it back, didn't he, for when he made that press office in Westminster, or number 10. Snake oil merchant accusing him of and other populists of offering tempting but false promises, like a quick fix, a miracle and cure, instead of the serious work of national renewal. Nobody's going to take that phrase up. I don't know what he's talking about anyway, but reclaiming patriotism. Yeah, the Home Secretary yesterday just kept talking about this. He sought to reclaim the flag, yeah, that's fine, yeah. And the concept of British patriotism, that's good to hear. That's been talked about from the right, arguing that Labour represents a truly tolerant, decent, respectful Britain, and cautioning that using the flag alongside racist graffiti is not pride. Well, I mean, we don't want graffiti, really. Yeah. I mean, graffiti's vandalism, never mind anything else, really, so. Yeah, just looking for some quotes, exact quotes he said, on Nigel Farage's patriotism and vision. When was the last time you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like Britain. He doesn't believe in Britain, wants you to doubt it as much as he does, and so he resorts to grievance. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, probably easy to find him saying positive things about Britain. I mean, if I was a speechwriter, I would have said it looked like Nigel was heading for America, so I would have said he was about to leave for America, and now he's a leader of ICAM because he get a chance to be a Reform Party leader. He just jumped back. But I mean, I'm not bothered anyway. I'm just voting Reform as a protest vote. I would prefer advance. Either of them will do at this point. It's an Overton window thing, just got to get an Overton window going. So I don't think that would help at all. Uh, we can all see this choice: decency or division, renewal or decline, a country proud of its values, in control of its future, or one that succumbs against the grain of our history to the policies of grievance. It is a test, a fight for the soul of our country, every bit as big as rebuilding Britain after the war. Well, I'm glad he mentions that, because 1945, right, and this is when this sudden different trajectory started, really, just after the war. And we've never been able to vote on it on its own. We did have a proxy vote on it with Brexit, but that ended up even worse because Boris done his Boris waves. And as Shamana Mahmood said yesterday, what did she say? Like 2.5 million people uh, net have come to the country when you subtract the ones that have moved away. And the ones that have moved away are probably, been Britain for generations. So really we're talking about maybe 4 million newcomers from outside the EU, probably not America, maybe some from Australia, not many, but probably from other places, not really get any connection to Britain. We don't know why, nobody ever asks why, really. We've not to ask why, by the looks of it. So I mean, he really is atrocious, this Keir Starmer. I mean, I don't think anyone's got any confidence in him, the left, the right, his own MPs. I don't see how they could. And then later on, we had David Lammy calling, saying that Nigel attended, or I don't even want to talk about it, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It's totally libelous. Um, as bad a libel as you could probably think of, really. I mean, it's bizarre. And then later on, he said he doesn't. He thinks he was wrong about that, but he didn't say he apologises or anything. It's just total lack of decorum. I mean, he was worried about probably a legal thing, but he could still lack a decorum. Really, to me, it says I can't identify with how you've conducted yourself there. That's what I feel anyway. Um, so I mean, he's talking about fight again. He's talking about an enemy. Could he not say something like, I don't know, not use the word fight anyway for sure. We can all see these snake oil merchants on the right, on the left, yeah, that's funny. He didn't mention Jeremy Corbyn or your party, but they got a mention here, implication on the left. So they're talking about Jeremy Corbyn, snake oil merchant. I mean, what an insult. I mean, he he was in his cabinet for like 5 years or something, and he came up with the second referendum for Brexit thing, which most people seem to say it was what sunk Jeremy Corbyn in 2019. Although in 2019, Corbyn got more votes than Keir Starmer, even though it's seen as a disaster. It just shows our electoral system's no use, really. On the right, on the left, but be in no doubt, confidence, none of them have any interest in national renewal. Here we go again. Sounds a bit like China, really, doesn't it? Under, what was his name? The great leader. Because decline is good for their business. They want to turn this country, this proud, self-reliant country, into a competition of victims. I don't know what he's talking about. On the immigration reforms, UK's policy on this. Anyone who argues that people who have lived here for generations should now be is an enemy of national renewal. If you say or imply that people cannot be English or British because of you are the enemy and we will fight you. I mean, this is like Diana Abbott the other day. There was a leaked Zoom call between her and I think it was a Stand Up to Racism crew or something, and it was maybe a week or two before Tommy's march, which maybe 300,000 attended or something. I mean, the police say about 150. The Home Secretary says 150,000, but everyone feels it's a lot more than that. But they didn't know how many were coming by then. But Diane Abbott said in that where they had these sort of demonstrations, we need to physically contest them. So there's that violent language again, which is sort of ambiguous. I mean, what does that mean? Physically contest people on the street? You know, I think that march has shocked them because so many turned out, and it was actually quite hard to find out that was happening, really. And all these people have come from miles away. You know, it's not just Londoners or whatever. Um, so yeah, that's what she said in the Zoom call. It was maybe private, but somebody leaked it, and you can see it on the internet. You know, and is that not inflammatory? I don't know. As Nigel says, we've got a two-tier police system, criminal system. You are the enemy and we will fight you. Because as Nigel pointed out in his reaction video, which I think was a great idea, he said this might spur on Antifa, you know, who turn up at these things masked and stuff. They always turn up masked, etc., looking menacing, but the police are usually pretty gentle with them. Controlling migration is a reasonable goal, but if you throw bricks and smash up private property, that is not legitimate. That's ugly. That's not really happened that much though, really, when you take into consideration. There was one brick thrown at a hotel in Falkirk, and the SNP made a big fuss about that. I mean, out of all the times that they've gathered there, this happened once or something. If you incite violence and hatred, that is not expressing concern, that is criminal. So now there is putting a threat. I mean, obviously violence, but then what's he talking about the other stuff? I mean, I think I regard them the opposite of free speech. So, but Trump keeps bringing that up with him, and he always tries to correct him. But Trump's right, really. Although Trump's not doing a great job over there either, because he's clamping down on people who I feel sorry for a country in the Middle East or whatever, I'm sympathetic. So, I mean, I don't know. He's sort of he's put that thing in there where talking about trying to. He's put all the violent stuff in, and then he's put in the word hatred, and that's meant to be people don't who are anxious about Labour's policies rather than So it's anti-free speech, really. Um, if our flags are painted alongside graffiti telling, etc., that's not pride. I mean, that happened once, I think, and I mean, considering that people have been putting flags all over the place, the amount of non-violent stuff that's happened or whatever is incredible. Really, it's a really well-behaved, high-trust thing that's happened. Really, I mean, personally, flags and lampposts when they first started happening, I was thinking, well, it's not really a good idea. We don't want people putting flags and lampposts and that. Not because I've been against the Union Jack or whatever, uh, but then as time went by, I thought, well, it's a stress test for the flag, and now we've got Labour flying they're all flying the flag at the conference. We get Lib Dems flying the flag at the conference. I'm talking about individuals as a group. They're all flying the flag. So it was a stress test, in my opinion, really, on the flag. As I said, we're all meant to be British, and the flag is for all of us. So it sort of worked in that way. I mean, but I'm quite proud of the lamppost thing now, and it happened in Scotland as well. And I heard some Labour female MP talking about this, and I think her reaction was she was horrified that it was happening in her part, uh, her area in central Scotland. That's how the people feel, and she doesn't understand them. Obviously, she's um, his challenge to the Labour Party. We must come together to fight reform with everything that this movement has. There we go, talking about fighting again, fighting talk. I don't know, it's just bizarre, really. And they're always, far left are always demonising even the centre right, really. They're demonising, they're calling them fash and stuff like that. I mean the full word for that. I'm not saying it for YouTube, just in case, they're always using this violent imagery, demonisation. Even that thing like Lucy Pill was it Lucy Pill that done the Never Kissed a Tory T-shirt, and then we had Angela Rayner, who in a secret session at one of the Labour conferences when they were in opposition talked about Tory scum and that. I think she'd done that so that she would get the sort of football fan Labour conference activists on her side. So maybe she even wanted it to be leaked. I'm not sure, maybe. But it was disgraceful in my opinion. So we get all this sort of violent language from the left, and here we've got it for the Prime Minister. So it's just bizarre. But like I say, he says it's a fight for the soul for the country. Well, in that case, I would say vote reform, folks. And we'll see how Wigan gets on Thursday. You know, those people are blessed to have a chance to give their view in an election, whereas the rest of us have got to wait 4 years officially. I don't think it'll last 4 years, although what will probably happen is that they'll change their leader and just keep going on. But yeah, so that's all I've got to say about that at the moment.